receiving good results is always a confidence boost, but what if the results are disappointing? Well, we're going to continue with our discussion on this topic of exam results and what do we do. We were talking about options, ladies, so let's continue with that. But I think what you wanted to finish the piece is you were talking about reminding that person who probably hasn't done so well in their exam results that this is not the first time that they failed and they can overcome this.
Yeah. You remind them of other incidences in their lives where they've had challenges, where they were not very happy about the outcome and how they dealt with it. And that's part of actually teaching the life skill of resilience, that you've been through difficulty before. You were resourceful, you were capable, you were able to bounce back. And that's what defines your character, not this result. Yeah.
And you were saying that it's so important that a failure is a thing that's happened. It's not you. It doesn't define you as a human being.
It's not who you are as a person. It's not a reflection of everything that you've done in your life up to that point, or anything that you will do after that point of that one failure in your life. I think it's important to know that you can speak to somebody about it if you're feeling like it is too much for you. You can, if your parents aren't going to be there to support you, or you don't feel like you can talk to them, you can give SADAG a call. You can SMS us on 31393 or tweet us on @ExamTopTips, and a counsellor can then be there to speak to you and remind you of what Sabisa was saying.
And I think that is important because sometimes, I mean, we were talking in our previous episode about sometimes getting outside help, you know, of what can I do now that I didn't pass. I'm probably not going to go to university or whatever it is I was planning to do with my past. What would you suggest?
I think we acknowledge, particularly the organizations like SADC, we know that some kids do not have a support network at home. You might have parents, you might have grandparents who are taking care of you, or you might not have any parents. And you might even be the first one to be reaching matric because the others in your family didn't go through school. And you may find that kids out there do not know that they can speak to somebody else. So the message is we want to send today is that there are other people you can speak to. Just because nobody knows and they've never been to matric or they don't understand what you're going through doesn't mean you should go into something drastic and end your life. Call SADC, talk to somebody. People do care. They do know what they can do to help you, so that you look at other options. And there are other options beyond simply getting a matric result that says fail, or that you didn't get the distinctions or the B's and C's you wanted.
Genevieve, I want to talk about kids that are high achievers. And I would imagine that for that person as well, not just for the waiting for the results, if you are in that anxious state of, I don't know what's going to happen, if I did so well, if I got those 7 distinctions, I would imagine that even then you can pick up the phone and say, this is how I'm feeling, my exam results haven't come out yet, what can I do right now to deal with the emotions that I'm going through?
Yeah, we place a lot of expectations on ourselves and we're very harsh and self-critical. And it doesn't necessarily have to be about failure. If you get an exam and you're sitting there and there's one question you're not too sure of, you can blow that question up that the entire paper's a write-off and you think that you've done terribly in it. So it's important to know that even then, there's people out there that you can talk to. You're going to be doubting yourself, you're going to feel anxious, you're going to feel stressed, you're going to feel like a bit of a failure, but you need to take that into perspective. You need to try some breathing techniques, relax and calm yourself down and chat to someone.
And when you're chatting to somebody, part of what our job is as counselors and psychologists is to teach you how to do scenario planning. Most people do not know how to explore other perspectives, other avenues when they're in a moment of crisis. So recognize you are in crisis. There's other options. Let's try to talk about what other options. So the worst comes to the worst, you have failed. Then what? We have a conversation. What's the worst that can happen? So that you are able to confront your fear and think about how can I best deal with it. Okay, it's not as bad. What is the middle ground? If ever, maybe you didn't pass as well as you thought. You wanted 7 distinctions, you only got 4, you're not going to get the bursary. Now what? We have a conversation about it.
And I wish that every parent could get this and every school could get this, because what you said was so important. This is a discussion we've got to have, not when you're writing exams or after the exams. It's probably a discussion we should be having early on before this actually happens.
Yeah, I think it's sad. I think a lot of times we don't have the real conversations we should be having at home. You'll ask how somebody's day is, but you don't actually listen for the answer, or you give an answer that you think, oh, it was okay. There's no real conversations happening like this of what happens if this happens. If you wanted 7 distinctions and you only got 4, can you still get into the degree you wanted to do? Are you still going to be accepted? Yes. So is it such a big thing in your
the
life.
greater scheme of
Yeah.
things.
I would imagine that maybe sometimes the worry that a parent might have would be, if I tell my child that it's if you don't fail, it's not the end of the world, am I encouraging them that it's okay for them to not?
go
I
and
would
relax
imagine
it.
that's a concern, which is why they would push so hard. But I'm also thinking that that might relieve some pressure of I have to be absolutely perfect, or I have to get these amazing marks.
For children, particularly who are high achievers, that is a message that they need to hear, that it's not the end of the world if you do not pass everything as well as you thought. But for a child who really takes easy, who cuts corners and who's not really determined, they have the potential, but they do not bring their A game every time when they're doing work. You need to be able to indicate to them that you have to be able to give all your effort. And ultimately, what counts, what opens doors for you, is you always putting 100%. Because there are kids out there who cut corners, who think that 50% is okay, you know. And yeah, actually it's not even 50%, 40% for some subjects, and in other subjects 30%.
But isn't that something that we've created, though?
It is. But it's a reality. And there are children who are smart enough who can achieve more. But their ability to want to achieve more, to strive for more, to put in the effort, it's not attractive. That's not what the role models around them show them. There are people who do not get to persist and reach as high goals. And so why strive for more when you could get by with just a little? So you need to adapt your message based on how you know your child.
And again, it seems like a culture thing, which sounds a little bit dangerous, John B.
Yeah, I think it is a cultural thing. A lot of kids sometimes think that they might not have to do it because they will get a free ride off mom and dad. Mom and dad have been successful, they've got enough money, so I'll actually be okay if I don't achieve and be all that I can be. In other cases, you might not have those role models or parents that are financially successful, and you think, well, there's no money for me to go to varsity, so why should I even bother? What's the point? And I think kids need to realize that there are bursary options. There are options where companies will actually pay for you to study, and then you have to work it back once you finish. And I don't think that that's being told enough to children, to grade 11s, so that they can make sure that they meet with those companies and prepare themselves to go in that direction.
And I find that absolutely shocking, because it's not that there isn't money. I mean, the government has various schemes that enable people that cannot afford to go to university. And then again, like you're saying, the private sector does it as well. So where is the disconnect of getting that information out, that these young people know that it is possible for anybody who really wants to go to university to do so? And I think that's what makes South Africa, I think, different to so many other countries, is that there is that option that's available of funding people that can't afford to go.
I think for those who are at tertiary, at least the ones who do register, they are informed, because people get to know that I want to go to this Technicon or to this University of Technology or university to be able to register this program. I qualify or I don't qualify financial aid, or I'm too late. So that information is sent by the universities, and we do give that information a lot. The problem is who qualifies. The message is not being put clearly that 40% and 50% is not going to give you the financial aid. You need to up your game, because of when you're giving financial aid, the expectation is that the quality of your work, your knowledge, that the investment, there will be a return on it. Because nobody's going to give you money for you to fail and repeat every year. When you drop a subject, when you're not performing and you're not getting a particular percentage, you are no longer worthy of getting that financial aid. It's not everybody has it. And you at least have to be able to register to prove that you are a student for you to get access to the funds. So there are preconditions, and people just assume, oh, I am black, or oh no, the government has got facilities, I just have to go and it will be there. No, you have to prove yourself. And that's where the issue of how well you were doing and being consistent in your results throughout the year with your mock exams or your trial exams, the final results, and then when you go to university to be able to do it. But kids tend to think, I can loiter and then it will be there. No, it isn't. It's not true.
Genevieve, looking at this topic, what is the one thing that for you is so important that we cannot leave this discussion without you highlighting this particular subject?
I think for kids who are expecting or have high expectations because they've got goals and things they want to achieve in life, if they don't reach those goals right now with matric, there are other ways to go about it. This isn't the be-all and end-all of the rest of your life. And there are people who care. They might not be in your immediate family. It might not be evident that they're there to support you, but they are. If you feel like you can't talk to them, call SADAG. Our number is on the screen, or SMS us if you don't have enough airtime, and we'll phone you right back. The counsellors are there 365 days a year. So the day that your results are out today, you can give them a call and chat to them. You can even speak to them about how to tell your parents if you haven't done as well as you thought, you didn't get your 6 distinctions, you failed, your name's not in the paper. And we also have the Department of Education's number so that we can give that to you if you decide, I've failed, I know I didn't work as hard as I should have, and it is something that I do want to do again. We've got the number that you can then phone and speak to somebody about redoing.
So we have a few seconds left. I'd like you to also, just like something that you would like to highlight before we go.
I would like to speak to the parents and say that at that moment when the results are coming out, the most important thing is to put your child first. What they're feeling, try to get in touch with what they're feeling, and what, if it was you, what you would like to hear. It's not about you as the parent, it's not about how frustrated and disappointed you are, it's about containing the child. And then if you feel you cannot, it's okay to ask the grandparent or the aunt or the uncle or somebody in the neighborhood to come and have the conversation with your child. But it's important to be there physically to support them.
Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you for your time. Well, it may be consoling to remember that if you learn something from a defeat, then it isn't a loss. Use life experiences to your own benefit because, after all, you've gained knowledge through those experiences. Next time, we're looking at the stresses that arise from entering a new environment, whether it's a new school or a new job. Until then, take care.